Yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you never stop trying.
Yes. Everybody doesn't get a trophy. If you lose,
Everybody
you
does
don't get a
not.
trophy.
No,
There's no
no.
trophy for
Stop
trying.
that.
Cut it out.
Stop it for
We're tired.
participation.
No.
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 No. Welcome back to Perceived Value Life. I'm so excited for today's conversation.
100%.
Oh my gosh. So we're talking about parenting, a lot of different aspects of parenting, discipline, your responsibility, our responsibility as parents to our children.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's just so much we can go into on the topic of parenting. Like, I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yeah. This is an amazing topic, and it can go deep, but I think it's going to be a real good conversation because I mean there's so many different ways of parenting, and there really is there's no handbook.
There's no handbook. I really don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. Although I do believe there's a certain way you should go about parenting.
Sure.
When it comes to raising a whole different type of being. Not a different type of being, but a different...
Alien? A different being?
Another person who has their own desires, who has their own wishes in life. You know, it's hard to navigate raising someone who's their own person.
Definitely. So you're saying whoop ass or not to whoop ass?
You can whoop ass or you can not whoop ass.
Discipline, we're going to cover all of that, man.
Ooh, man. Yeah.
So, whether you are raising a child by yourself or you're raising a child with someone else, I think that, like I said, there's no handbook to parenting. And you won't really understand until you actually have to parent. One thing that's interesting is that I forgot who said this, but there was something I watched recently that said you don't actually grow up until you actually have to parent. And obviously, if you don't have kids, it doesn't mean you're not grown up. But it's just saying it in a certain context. It's like once you have kids and you have another person to raise, you grow up in a certain way. You really grow up as a person. You know what I'm saying?
So are you saying that children helps with just growth, individual growth?
I think if you ask any parent, they would say yeah.
I would say yes, 110%.
It's different. It's different. It's a whole different ballgame once you have children.
Oh my God!
So you start off with babies, and you're like, oh, they're so precious. The baby's so precious, and you're just focused on those at first 2 years, and then they start talking. Then they start talking.
I thought it was gonna be easy. I really thought it was gonna be easy. I thought, okay, yeah, we're going to have babies, like the cute stage and the babbling, and they're so cute, and, all taking all these cute pictures,
right.
And, capturing all of these moments that are really cute and precious. Mm-hmm. I honestly thought it was going to be easy because the older that they get, though, the more and more I realize it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, but I absolutely love the challenge of it because I found that it helped me grow a lot more as an individual person. So I appreciate that part of parenting. It just makes you take a second look at yourself.
Man, listen.
I also think that clear boundaries should be established
between parent and child.
I'm not your friend.
That's another interesting thing.
Just seeing this little individual for who they are and not who you want them to be.
That is, man, that's real. That part right there. That part.
That's me. What about you?
I really want our kids, to be well-rounded individuals, emotionally and logically well-rounded, and respect is a big thing. I'm big on respect, how you treat other people, how to carry yourself in the world, and it's important to raise functional adults. You know what I'm saying? That's probably the biggest thing for me. They got to be functional. I don't want to raise kids that are not functional and cannot handle themselves.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, out of all of this, they're going to be adults.
Exactly. And they're going to hopefully have their own children. And to be able to have your own children, you need to be functional. You need to be able to move around, move in this world in a functional way. So that's the number one thing I was thinking about. Is like, how do I get them from babies to adults? I'm going to be here. I'm going to be there and make sure that they are functional. You know what I'm saying? So, but we could definitely get deeper into that. And that actually brings me to a video I watched recently, but it's a clip of this student in this teacher's face talking crazy. Like this student was like 14.
Sending shockwaves through this community. A teacher decks a student, and the two go at each other in a horribly disturbing fistfight. All of this unfolding in band class in front of a room full of mortified students, some of them recording this stunning scene with their phones. The beating is nonstop, with the teacher wailing on the student, even using...
And eventually, I don't condone it, but eventually the teachers clocked him.
I wonder at what point was it like, okay, it's clock out time. Like, you got to be knocked out now.
When you watch the whole video, it might have been like... I don't know. I saw at least 5 minutes.
Of that.
Of the student really
disrespect.
The student was in his face, crazy, and we'll. I'm gonna play you another clip too. I want to play you another clip.
All right, let's stop here.
But I wanted to give you the full context of this video,
okay,
so you could understand it wasn't just the teacher just knocking this student out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the context. You have to be able to see it from both aspects. You can't just look at that clip and be like, "Oh, wow, that teacher is going crazy," and he keeps going at him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't see it from just that perspective alone. But from the teacher's perspective, when someone is talking very disrespectful, and now you're throwing something at me, and like, how much am I supposed to take before?
Oh man, how much
before I do something?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, being in that position, you should never lay your hands on a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's, but honestly, how much should you be able to tolerate as a teacher or as an individual?
Right.
With someone being disrespectful to you is a question too.
That's the real question. And, one of the reasons why I was like, this clip stood out to me when we were, gonna have this conversation was like, I don't condone what the teacher did, but I was kind of infuriated with the kid because the kid's like 14, and I don't know what the kid's scenario is at home, but I guarantee you he does not have a father in this house. There's no way. There's no way that a kid who's that age would be in a teacher's face to the point of almost swinging on the teacher. I mean, it's just,
if he has a father in the house, perhaps that father is abusive. I mean, that
true.
could be
That's
the case
point.
too.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Well, I should say there's not a functional father.
Okay,
you know
functional.
what I'm saying? Because you, as a father, my thing is that you got to raise your kids with respect. Now, if someone is putting their hands on my child, I'm like, yes, protect yourself. But you're in school. You know what I'm saying? If a teacher, you might not like what the teacher tells you, but you're not gonna put your hands on a teacher. You're not gonna be up in a teacher's face cursing and talking crazy, because he was cursing the teacher out and all that. And for me, like, if I got a call like that, I would be honest. I would really want to. Our son isn't 14, but if we had a son that's 14 that's in a teacher's face, talking crazy, I'm gonna whoop his ass. I'm gonna be honest with you. Because the thing about it is that I believe that kids need to have respect, and that's one of the big things about fathers. I think that you have to teach your kids how to conduct themselves. And the real issue with some of these videos, it's like, who are these kids getting raised by? Where they just feel like, and there's some girls too. There's some girls doing the same thing to teachers.
Well, I mean, this kind of behavior doesn't just come out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? This is something that has been probably going on since they were a little kid. You know, this kind of this type of behavior, and it could be, you know, I don't know if the father was involved or not,
Right.
but obviously he feels comfortable disrespecting adults.
Right.
He feels comfortable just like getting physical, you know, with an adult. So it's just like, wow, he's only.
He had his dukes up. He was getting.
Like, what is this?
That teacher was mopping his ass on the floor.
Like, just no respect, no respect whatsoever. So you know what? You gonna disrespect me like that? And then, okay, verbally, I could take verbals, whatever. Words are words. That ain't gonna get me to strike you. But you throwing a ball at me, trying to hurt me, is almost as serious as you putting your actual hands on me. Because now you've gotten physical with me. At this point, all bets are out the door. You want to come at me like that? I'm probably going to come back at you with the same type of energy.
How do you view your parents were, or the way you were parented when you were growing up?
Okay.
How was your experience?
I mean, I think my experience might be like the typical experience, I think. You know, I had caring parents who wanted to see me achieve great things. They were very supportive. But I did get disciplined. I did get whoopings. And I did get grounded.
Got groundings?
I got groundings.
Groundation?
You know, I had, you know, sit downs.
Okay. Sit downs are good.
Sit downs are good. Conversations are good. So I feel like it was just a little bit of everything. It was love. I felt like they tried to understand things from my perspective, so that there was empathy.
Okay.
But there was also discipline, and a level of respect that you definitely had to show. Okay. You know, with them being the parents. So
I mean, my mom and dad were not like overly strict. We had a lot of freedom, I would say. I think we grew up in a time. We grew up in the 80s, you know, so it's like we played outside a lot. My parents weren't overly strict. I got to go out and run all over the place. As far as discipline, I mean, I got grounded too. You know what I'm saying? Grounding was worse than a whooping.
Oh, yeah.
I would take a whooping any day over grounding.
Nobody wanted to be grounded.
To be grounded
Kept
on a
away
summer
from
day?
your friends. Got to stay in the house and do all kinds of chores.
Do you understand how slow time goes?
Oh, my God.
I'm talking about the summertime.
Yeah.
A beautiful summer day and you're grounded and it's like 11 a.m.
Oh, my gosh.
And your friends are out. And they're going to be outside until...
And you're hearing them probably outside your window or something like
it's
that.
11 a.m. And you know they're going to be outside until 8 o'clock. You got 9 hours. That's like being in jail. You got 9 hours.
Inside.
In the house. Ugh. And you might... I don't know. I mean, even if you're able to watch TV... It's different in the summertime, during summer vacation time.
Oh,
you're grounded.
Yes. Not summer vacation.
Like, please give me a whooping, please, please. So you know, my neighborhood wasn't super suburban and it wasn't super reckless, but I mean, I went to school with some kids who, some of them was a little extra rough, but I never saw anybody in a teacher's face or hit a teacher. It just wasn't even conceivable.
Okay, well, for me around that time, at least in elementary school, you know, they had the paddling. Like the teacher had a paddle board. They actually had a paddle board in the room. The principal had a paddle board. And they were able to. This was elementary school. They were able to take the disruptive kid or the disrespectful kid out into the hallway and physically hurt.
I'm just laughing because I can't even see that. That
paddleboard was like to be. Don't mess with the paddleboard. Like, don't get your teacher to the point of where she got to grab that paddleboard. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like they just went in and grabbed it. That was the first thing. It was just like, you know, constant levels of constant interruptions, constant disrespect. It's like, okay, this is your third warning.
And I don't know, maybe it goes on now, but even like back then, I didn't see any kids in anybody's face, but let a kid get in the teacher. Let a kid curse at a teacher or talk crazy to a teacher. Somebody's mama would be up there.
Yeah.
And people would get their asses whooped in front of their classmates. And it wasn't it could happen. But nowadays, everybody's scared to do anything because it's different. Now, again, I don't condone like child abuse, but I think everything is considered child abuse now. So parents are scared to discipline, teachers are scared to discipline, and the role of a parent has really changed, I think.
I think that's a good point. The role of a parent has changed. And now they're allowing the outside authorities or the people, whoever they are, to dictate how you should be disciplining your child.
Right.
Now, like if you put your hands on your child, that can be a form of child abuse. It's just like, I think that's dumb. Honestly,
it is dumb.
I think it's really dumb.
It's dumb. Very dumb.
I mean, there is a difference between discipline and child abuse. I think that there is a significant difference in between the two.
Well, maybe they're not drawing the line. Maybe there's no definitive line between the two. I think that maybe back in the day, parents were more heavy-handed, teachers were more heavy-handed, as you said, and then it's like, because they were heavy-handed, sometimes there was child abuse in that heavy-handedness.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there was a lot of discipline. I think there was a lot of discipline, but I think the child abuse part of it was mixed in there. So now it flipped to the other side where it's like, we need to remove all the heavy-handedness to make sure there's no child abuse. But then you remove so much of the heavy-handedness, there's no discipline.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you end up with kids with the boldness that I see. We got to watch another video.
In the 14-second video, words are exchanged before the female student punches the Douglas High chemistry teacher. The student responds, "Don't get smart," an expletive, "with me." The teacher responding, "I didn't get smart with you," before following her out of the classroom. The school system says it's investigating what happened. The teachers union says even more must be done.
Wait a minute.
I know. Go ahead.
The words, "don't get smart with me."
Yeah.
I'm almost speechless. Like, my heart is in my stomach. And for me, I can only imagine what the child might be going through at home. I go back to the home. I always go back to the home. I see the situation for what it is. Yeah, it was wrong for him to hit the teacher for sure. And that was a girl. Oh, God.
She was a little swole, but you know what I'm saying? Like her fist game was pretty good.
Fist game was very good and quick. Real quick. Okay, you can tell your child to be good or to, this is the proper way to express your anger. Stump your feet or go punch a pillow or go take some, deep breathing to help calm yourself down. But then they look at you and see how you express yourself.
Right.
And they're just going to emulate what you do, not what you say. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it's important. For the most part, children do have a hard time regulating their emotions. Yeah. And I think us as parents need to be able to guide them in that path correctly.
Right. Well, that was definitely a lesson I learned from you because, my whole point of view was like, you're a child, you're gonna listen. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm more of a hard line type of parent. I mean, I'm definitely soft. My kids loving. I get a lot of love, a lot of kisses.
Absolutely.
More love, fun, kisses, all that. More of that than anything else.
Absolutely.
But I'm also the type of dad where I'm like, I'm not a game.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that now where I get that from is my father. My father, God rest his soul, he wasn't like super strict. But one thing I do know is that the way my dad was, he was a gentle guy, loving guy. But he's not a game. He's not a joke. So there's a certain level of reverence that I had for him, and I wanted my kids to have the same reverence to say, okay, he's fun loving, and all that, but he's not a game. He's not somebody I can just play games with when he tells me to do something and to take me seriously. So I've had to learn the balance of not being too strict or finding other things in my toolbox.
And I would have to say I needed to add a little bit more to my toolbox to because I feel like, you get respect when there's a little bit of fear. You got to instill a little bit of fear into your kids, because if they don't see you as somebody who can do anything about they attitude or about talking back, then they going to think, they can get away with it. And I think setting that boundary, that's the boundary that you're not going to cross. Like, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. And I think adding to my arsenal was like going to the number 10, going to the number 10, like where it's all red and now you about to get it. You about to feel the wrath of your mother.
I set the wrap down early, so
you do set it down early.
I set it down early.
You don't let it get too
they
far.
They knew I wasn't no game early.
But I try to be a little bit patient. I'm like, okay, I understand. You got these emotions, blah blah blah. But then whenever it gets to a certain point to where I'm like, okay, it has crossed the line. Like, I've asked you to do this 3 times and you're still sitting here.
Yeah. Yo,
and I let them know this is disrespectful.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to tell you 3 times to do something.
Right.
I'm taking your tablets. You're not getting it for the rest of the day.
Right.
That's whenever you're going to see this other aspect of mommy that you don't necessarily like to see.
Yeah.
You want mommy to be nice and respectful to you, then you're going to have to show it to me.
Yeah.
Show it to me.
Yep.
Too.
That's the way I believe it. You got to have that balance. So, I mean, I don't think there's any right way to do it, obviously, but we find our balance.
We've
learned from each other,
for sure,
when it comes to parenting. And you also can't whoop ass all the time over everything. So there's some parents who everything is whooping. You're getting a whooping all the time. And then there's some parents where we talked about it plenty of times. You go into stores, you have some kids that don't have no respect. They talk to their parents crazy and need a smack upside the head.
I say, oops, upside the head. I say, oops, upside your head.
Yeah, they need that. They definitely need that. So it's.
I had a teaching moment with our son. I think I told you this in the grocery store. We were in the grocery store, and we were just getting some things. I said, y'all can get one thing. But I ended up, letting them have 2 because they each wanted a raspberry and a blueberry or something like that. So I got them both their own thing. So they got 2 things. We get to the line. Our son wants one more thing. Just one more thing, Mom. Just one more thing.
It's always one more
It's always just one more thing. And I said no, but he kept going on and on and on. I said, no, I bought you 2 things. Remember, we only came in here for 1, but I allowed you to get 2. Be happy there. And then he just kept going on and about this one thing. But what we can do, we can put these 2 things back. You want to put the 2 things back? Because I have no problem doing that either, and you getting nothing.
Right.
Of course he says no.
Of course.
I said, then appreciate what you have.
What we've been learning from each other as parents, you just learn. Whether you're learning from each other or if you're doing it alone, you just learn. I mean, because the children are in so many different phases. So the patience, what that story you just told is like, I noticed there's a level of patience I had to have. I had to take, and I've learned from you, is just being more patient, because because in that same scenario, if I give my kids something and they're going to ask for more and they're not appreciative, I'm immediately like, okay, nothing. You get nothing. We put everything back. I've done it many times. Yeah. And I do it very swiftly. Nothing. When you're getting nothing, okay, no problem. Let's just go home. No, Dad, no. So, but it is important to have some patience and talk to your children and talk them through certain lessons. So I definitely have learned that, so they understand why you're doing what you're doing.
I think it's important to help them understand.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because they can come up with any kind of thought in their head as to why this is happening.
Right,
I don't want you to think that you're a bad child. Sometimes kids go there like, I'm a bad child because I was disciplined in this, or
Right.
because I expressed my emotion. Now I'm not going to express that emotion anymore because that means I'm a bad child. Like, you just want to make sure that, I mean, it's impossible to to get it all right. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
you're not going to get everything right.
You're not going to get it all right, but I think it's important to help them understand certain situations. That's why I really appreciate what my parents did. They sat me down and talked.
Yeah,
This is why you're getting the punishment. It's not because you are a bad person, but it's this behavior.
That's incredible. Shout out to your parents.
Shout out to mommy and daddy.
Now, that also makes me think about what you're saying. Now, there's a term, and I'm sure it didn't start with our generation, but children are to be seen, not to be heard.
Oh, yeah.
So that narrative, I think a lot of us, our generation we took that and said, okay, that may not be the best thing. Because once you do that, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because children are to be seen, not to be heard, can minimize what your kids are feeling. Like, I don't even care. You don't have no emotions. You're just a child. Just listen, and essentially just listen to what I say. And I don't need to explain to you.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a place for that too. I don't need to explain as an adult. I don't have to explain everything I do. Sometimes you just need to listen.
Yeah.
I believe that. But at the same time, there is a balance of being able to explain to them so they can learn.
Absolutely.
You know?
Harlow, she asks why.
Our daughter Harlow, she's definitely big on asking why, and man, like I said, you're just gonna learn because your children.
And it's not always, the answer isn't always because I said so.
Right. Absolutely.
The answer isn't always because I said so.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be able to pause for a minute, just pause in that moment, and answer the question.
Right.
So that they can get a better understanding. I don't think they come to you in that way of being disrespectful.
Sure.
It's curiosity.
Yeah, a lot of it's curiosity.
A lot of it is just curiosity.
Yeah.
And if you just take it for what it is, curiosity, I think your approach to that question would be a little bit softer,
open.
a little bit more open.
Because I said so.
Because I said so. Go back in your room and read a book.
Go do something. Go read a book.
Sometimes that's the response. Sometimes that is the response. You know what, Harlow? We're going to table it for right now. But can you, go in your room and read a book, or, let's go draw something. If there's a better way to deflect the question instead of because I said so. Well, you know what? Actually, there has been a time where I said because I'm the mommy.
Right.
And this is what I expect of you.
That's the same thing.
It's the same because I said so?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I know it's the same thing.
Okay, I thought you were saying something different.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it is the wording. Don't you think it sounds much nicer than because I said so?
It's definitely dressed up a little nicer.
It's dressed up in a pretty bow. Because I'm the mommy and because this is what I expected.
Because I'm your father.
Because I am your father.
I am father. when you're always whooping or yelling, actually, I think that if you really analyze that, it's really because you may lack something yourself.
Yeah.
You lack certain skills. I mean, let's just keep it 100.
Yeah.
If you're always yelling or you're always whooping your kids,
yeah,
you actually lack the skills. You're lacking some skills. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, but you are lacking some skills as far as parenting, because whether people want to admit it or not, as adults, you do bring in what happens to you at work. You do bring in what happens to you in your relationships. You do bring in what happens to you, whatever.
The frustrations of life.
The frustrations of life. There's no way that you're going to not bring that into parenting.
True. And
sometimes you may find yourself irritated with your children, yelling at your children. Whatever it is, you may find yourself taking it out on them.
Yeah.
And I think the goal or the goal is, or the key to that is really saying, okay, let me identify that. Because if we're human beings. Parents are human. We're imperfect. So you are going to, just the same way outside issues spill into your marriage.
Yeah.
They're going to spill into your parenting. But I think you got to identify, be honest with yourself and say, okay, yeah, I'm tripping. You take a moment. So it's important to take a moment and think about that before you respond.
I have
to
a
your
question for you. So in that moment where you just kind of respond out of frustration with whatever's going on in the day, do you apologize to your children for that?
If I've crossed the line and actually show them that, but I've had moments where I'm about to do that and I stop myself. So if
You've already done it, then you'll be like, you know what?
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, or whatever the case is.
Right.
I didn't mean to yell at you at that moment, or whatever it is. You know, but I always try to learn from that, because my goal is to I'm human. I'm gonna be human,
100%.
but my goal is to separate whatever I have going on personally as an adult and whatever that parenting need is at the time.
Yes.
I gotta separate that, and
Yeah.
that's part of, like I said, acknowledging your imperfections, and then making sure that you deal with things accordingly.
That's good that you're able to acknowledge that in the moment. Like right before maybe it happens,
Yeah.
you're able to look at yourself and be like, okay, where is this energy coming from?
And
Like,
as parents, through these different phases, I mean, we don't know yet, but I would say, I'm imagining teenage years.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's got to be the hardest. The high school years got to be the hardest part of parenting, I'm thinking.
I think the high school years are probably, the hardest part of parenting, because you have a lot of external forces coming in on your child. A lot of external forces coming in on your child. So that's why these beginning stages are so crucial.
Yeah.
To give them a good foundation of self-worth, of respect for yourself and others.
Yeah.
And also, don't tolerate any BS. You can't sit there and just let somebody talk at you any kind of way either, because you deserve respect.
Right.
You know?
That's 100% too. Yeah.
So, just being able to, just to instill everything that you need as an adult into the kids at an early age. A show for respect, self-worth, a level of defense.
Them to defend themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of uncertain external factors coming in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Influences from all kinds of places. So your child needs to be able to be prepared for those types of situations earlier on, so they can learn these lessons and carry it out whenever they get older, or whenever the situation presents itself. Go into the right people if you need to for guidance.
Right.
That's why when our children come to us and they're feeling some kind of way, it's important for us to be present. Stop what you're doing.
Right.
Be present in that moment and listen to your child, because they're gonna come back to you time and time again for guidance.
Right.
And you want your child to come back to you time and time again for guidance. So that they don't search it out
elsewhere.
Where you don't even know if they're getting the right guidance or not.
Right.
Absolutely.
You take some things you learned, because I think most people, you come into parenting with how you were parented.
Right.
And then from there, you're like, okay, some things maybe you didn't like about
and you tweak
parents.
it.
Yeah, you tweak it. It's no disrespect to our parents. There's some things that we respect about our parents. We like what they did. There's some things that's like, nah, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it my particular way.
Yeah.
But, you do it with love.
You do it with love. Always from a point of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I saw this clip with he's a I'm sure you heard of him, Jordan Peterson. He's a psychologist. The point of what he was talking about is that sometimes you raise children who grow up to be adults who aren't functional because you coddle them to death, and you're always you're trying to protect them from everything in the world.
So they don't learn from any kind of lesson, because you're always there to correct.
Always there to correct, always there to protect. And as a parent, that's our instinct.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you do all that? You want to protect your kids. You want to give them more than what you had growing up.
Yeah.
Emotionally, materialistically,
Yeah.
But do you have kids that are just over coddled?
Yeah.
You know, you go to the playground, the kid can't even play. Oh no, don't do.
You're gonna hurt yourself. Don't go so high.
You know, but at the same time, you feel like that. You're like, oh, I don't
Well,
want
of course
I
you
don't
have to
want my
protect
kid
them
get
because
hurt.
you don't want them to hurt and bust their head on that metal merry-go-round.
Oh man,
Why do they still make metal merry-go-rounds? Those
Well,
kids be getting hurt.
That's the only old school thing. Everything else is super plastic and safe. Oh man, when we were growing up.
When we were growing up, we were so reckless.
I mean, I should show you the scars on my legs. I have the Lyfe of the 80s and the 80s all on my legs from scars. I mean, we were just rough, but
Oh man, yeah, we were definitely allowed a lot more self-exploration and freedom as kids. I mean, we were out when the sun, after breakfast or something like
after
we
breakfast.
right outside
Hit
and
the
we
race.
staying out until the street lights come on.
the street lights come on. All
Don't even check
day.
in.
Drinking out of the water hose.
Drinking out the water
There's no
hose,
bottled
going to other
water.
people's houses. Your
Yeah.
parents not really knowing where you at. Just come home before the street lights come on.
Exactly. Now it's like you can't even imagine not knowing where your kid is at all the time. So
Absolutely not.
stop coddling
Stop coddling.
these soft children. These soft marshmallowy children.
Yeah, we don't want any marshmallow children or adults.
No, you gotta love your kids, and we are the Afriers. This is the Perceived Value Life podcast. Please subscribe, comment down below your experiences as a parent, how you think is the good, effective way of parenting, and any other things you have to say about parenting.
Absolutely.
And that's
we
what we're
welcome
doing.
your comments. We
Yes.
love a good discussion.
Yes. All right, y'all. Stay positive. Peace out.
Have a great week,
To the
everyone.
next one.
Bye.